Hello everyone, I'm glad to meet you again on today's session on our music lessons. We will look at rest. We're supposed to talk about this when we're treating the lesson on rhythm. Alright, so we'll talk about it and then we'll move on to our time signature and complete. So we'll look at symbols and names of the rest. It means that rest have their symbols and then their corresponding names. Now, what is rest? Collectively, rests are symbols that represent the silences in music. You know, music cannot be enjoyed with sounds alone, or you cannot compose music with sounds alone. The same way as we cannot talk with sounds alone. At a point in time, we stop, we pause, take a breather and continue. In fact, that is what our speech is made up of. It is the same in music. At a point in time, we pause briefly and then we'll continue. Those pauses are silences. We keep silence for some time, then we continue on with the sound. These silences are also organized. They have their own length of time. Okay, so we call them rest, and they have their various symbols and names. Let's have some more explanations. Every music note has its corresponding rest. You know the music notes, we have the whole note or the semi-brief, we have the half note or the minim, we have the quarter note or the crotchet, we have the 8th note or the quiver, the 16th note or the semi-quiver, and others. Okay, so all these notes have their corresponding rests. It means that we'll have a whole rest or a semi-brief rest. We will have a half rest or a minim rest, a quarter rest or a crotchet rest, an 8th rest or a quiver rest, in that order. Also, the name of a rest symbol is given by the name of its corresponding note. I think I have just said that now. Now let's look at the whole or the semi-brief rest. How does it look like? The whole or semi-brief rest looks like the inverted cowboy's hat. You know, the hat, we usually call it the cowboy's hat. Okay. That's how it is. It looks like the inverted form of it. It's like you have turned it upside down. Alright. So where we really put on the head is facing upwards. Okay, I know you may be following. Then it represents 4 count silence. It means that you keep quiet for 4 counts depending on your pause. And it is represented on the staff as shown. Now let's look at the half or the minim rest. The half rest rather looks like the cowboy's hat at its correct and upright posture. That is, if it's on the person's head, the way it looks like. That is how the minim or the half rest look like. That is it. Okay. So we should, because this and the whole rest look alike, we may not get the difference between the minim rest and the semi-brief rest. But that's the difference. The other one, the first one, which is the whole note rest, is turned upside down. Just compare it to the cowboy's hat and you know the difference. One is turned upside down and the other is at its right position. And this has 2 count silence. It means that as we count for 2 beat notes, 1, 2, or ah. You have to keep quiet for such a length of time. And that is how it's represented on the staff. So you see the shaded portion rather is on top of the line. That of the semi-brief has the shaded portion below the line. Let's look at the quarter or the crotchet rest. This is like drawing a Z or a Z attached to a C at the bottom. It is not really a great definition, but just to give you an idea, that is it. The first part that looks like that zigzag. 1, 2, 3. So you slant in rightward, slant backwards, leftward, and you slant down rightward. Then there's C as an incomplete C down there. That's what I meant. Now it represents a 1 count silent. Just 1 beat, as we know, but you keep, if in terms of silence, you keep, or rest, you keep quiet for 1 beat. Okay. That's another form of a crotchet rest. So an alternative version of the crotchet rest is like an inverted 7, or the 7 that is facing the opposite direction, the right opposite direction. Okay. And that is how they are represented on the staff. The 8 or the quiver rest. The 8 or the quiver rest looks like number 7. You see, that of the crochet has the 7 but facing the opposite side, at the right opposite side, but the quiver rest rather is in its rightful posture as number 7. That is how it looks like. It represents a half count silent. It means it's shorter than the crochet rest. And that is how it's represented on the staff. The 16th or the semi-quiver rest. The semi-quiver rest looks like letter F facing the left opposite direction. Like that. And it's represented on the staff as that. This represents a quarter count silence. I say a quarter is just the length of sound, very short, shorter than the 8 or the quiver rest. Thank you. And this chart or table will give you a summary of all that we have discussed. All I want you to know is to know how the symbols look like, and then you identify their names and which beats they represent, so you know how many counts each rest has. And for that matter, we observe the silences accordingly. Thank you. Stay safe. Bye-bye. I'll meet you on the page for your day's exercise.